A strange shift happens when desperation disappears and certainty takes its place. The moment chasing ends, something powerful begins to chase you. And right there, in that silent confidence, is where the magic of marriage truly starts. There is a version of you that doesn't wonder when love will arrive, doesn't question worth, doesn't wait for validation, and doesn't feel incomplete. That version already lives as if the union is done, as if the ring is already worn, as if the story is already written. This state is not about pretending for the world. It is about becoming so internally convinced that the external world has no choice but to rearrange itself. Marriage magnet mode is not about searching harder. It is about embodying deeper. It is about stepping into a frequency where commitment is not a hope, but a natural consequence. The moment this internal shift happens, the energy changes, the posture changes, the decisions change, and suddenly, the right attention begins to appear without effort. Most people live in a state of waiting, constantly checking, constantly doubting, constantly hoping something will happen someday. But waiting is a signal of lack, and lack repels the very thing it desires. Magnetism, on the other hand, is born from fullness. When the heart feels complete, when the mind feels settled, when the identity feels chosen, everything begins to align. It's not about forcing someone to choose. It's about becoming the person who is already chosen. That difference is everything. One comes from fear, the other comes from power. One chases, the other attracts. And the universe always responds more strongly to certainty than to need. There is an invisible language being spoken at all times, not through words, but through state. That state communicates whether someone is seeking or already secure, whether someone is lacking or already fulfilled. And people feel it. They may not explain it, but they sense it instantly. When someone walks into a room carrying the energy of, I am already loved, already valued, already chosen, something shifts. Eyes linger longer, conversations deepen faster, and connections form more naturally. This is not coincidence. This is alignment. The external world simply mirrors the internal truth that is being held consistently. Marriage magnet mode requires letting go of timelines. The moment urgency disappears, attraction increases. Desperation creates pressure, but peace creates pull. When there is no longer a need to rush, everything begins to move faster in a natural way. This is because the resistance drops. Resistance is created by overthinking, by doubting, by forcing outcomes. But when someone relaxes into certainty, the path becomes smoother. Opportunities appear without struggle, connections happen without force, and everything begins to feel almost guided. That is the magic people talk about, but few understand. Another powerful shift happens when identity changes. Instead of asking, why hasn't it happened yet? The focus becomes, it is already mine. That subtle change transforms everything. The mind stops searching for problems and starts recognizing alignment. Instead of noticing absence, it begins to notice progress. Instead of questioning worth, it reinforces value. And this new identity becomes the foundation for everything that follows. Because life does not respond to wishes, it responds to identity. The version of self that is held consistently becomes the reality that is experienced consistently. In this state, actions also change. Choices are no longer driven by fear of losing someone, but by respect for self. Standards rise, boundaries strengthen, and clarity increases. This does not push people away. It filters the wrong ones and draws in the right ones. Because the right connection does not require convincing. It requires alignment. And alignment only happens when both sides are operating from truth, not from need. When someone stands fully in their worth, they stop entertaining confusion and start attracting clarity. And clarity is the foundation of commitment. There is also a quiet confidence that begins to grow. It is not loud, it is not arrogant, it is not forced. It is calm, grounded, and undeniable. This confidence says, what is meant for me is already finding me. And that belief removes anxiety completely. There is no need to overanalyze messages, No need to question intentions. No need to chase responses. Everything flows naturally because there is trust in the process. And trust is one of the most attractive energies that exists. It signals stability. And stability is what long-term commitment is built on. When this mode is fully activated, patience becomes effortless. Not because waiting is enjoyable, but because there is no longer a sense of lack. Time no longer feels like an enemy. It feels like preparation. Every moment is seen as alignment, every experience is seen as growth, and every delay is seen as refinement. This mindset removes frustration and replaces it with quiet excitement. Because deep down, there is a knowing that something powerful is already unfolding behind the scenes. And that knowing keeps the energy stable, which keeps the attraction strong. Another layer of this transformation is emotional independence. The need for external validation fades away, and inner validation becomes enough. This does not make someone distant. It makes them balanced. It allows love to be experienced without attachment, connection without fear, and closeness without losing self. And this is incredibly magnetic, because when someone is emotionally grounded, they do not drain others. They elevate them. They bring peace instead of pressure, clarity instead of confusion, and stability instead of chaos. And these qualities naturally draw in someone who is ready for something real. The final shift is subtle but powerful. It is the realization that love is not something to be earned. It is something to be aligned with. And alignment begins within. The moment someone truly believes they are worthy of a deep, committed, lasting connection, everything begins to reorganize. Not instantly, not magically in the way movies show, but inevitably. Step by step, moment by moment, things begin to move. People enter, situations shift, and opportunities arise. And eventually, what once felt distant becomes reality. Marriage magnet mode is not about doing more, it is about becoming more. It is about stepping into a state where love is not chased, but received. Where commitment is not forced, but formed. Where connection is not questioned, but known. And in that state, everything changes. Because the world always reflects what is consistently held within. And when that inner state becomes unshakable, the outer world has no choice but to match it. Living as though the commitment already exists creates a powerful inner shift that changes everything without external effort. The mind stops scanning for signs, stops doubting timing, and stops questioning worth. Instead, it settles into a calm knowing that what is desired is already secured. This calmness reflects in posture, in speech, in choices, and even in silence. There is no longer a need to impress or convince, because the identity has already changed. Actions begin to align naturally with someone who is valued and chosen. Standards become clearer without force. Conversations become more relaxed and genuine. Energy no longer feels scattered. It feels centered and intentional. This inner completion removes the urge to chase, and in that absence of chasing, attraction quietly begins. What once felt distant now starts moving closer without resistance. And slowly, the external world begins to mirror the internal certainty that has been established. There is a deep difference between wanting something and knowing it is already yours. Desire often carries tension, a subtle fear that it may not happen, a constant checking for reassurance. But certainty removes all of that weight. It creates stillness in the mind and stability in the heart. When certainty takes over, reactions become controlled, emotions become balanced, and decisions become clear. This state sends a powerful message without a single word being spoken. It communicates confidence, security, and emotional maturity. People are naturally drawn to this kind of energy because it feels safe and grounded. There is no pressure, no urgency, no confusion, only clarity. And clarity is rare, which makes it incredibly attractive. When someone operates from certainty, life begins to respond in kind, bringing situations and people that match that same level of stability and assurance. Urgency often disguises itself as passion, but in reality, it creates resistance. The more something feels rushed, the more pressure builds, and that pressure disrupts natural flow. When urgency is released, a sense of ease takes its place. This ease allows things to unfold without interference. It removes the constant need to control outcomes and replaces it with quiet trust. In this relaxed state, interactions become smoother, decisions become wiser, and timing becomes more aligned. There is no longer a feeling of racing against time, only a sense of moving with it. This shift makes everything feel lighter and more natural. And surprisingly, when the need to rush disappears, things often begin to happen faster. This is because there is no longer any resistance blocking the path. What is aligned begins to move freely, finding its way without force or struggle. Becoming the version of self that is already chosen is one of the most powerful transformations a person can make. It is not about pretending or acting. It is about embodying a new identity at the deepest level. This identity carries confidence without arrogance, self-respect without rigidity, and openness without insecurity. It influences how decisions are made, how boundaries are set, and how situations are handled. There is no longer a need to tolerate confusion or mixed signals, because clarity becomes a standard. This version of self does not seek validation, it naturally receives it. It does not lower standards to keep someone, it raises them to attract the right one. And in doing so, it creates a space where only genuine, aligned connections can exist. This shift filters out what does not belong and makes room for what truly fits. As self-worth rises, everything that once felt uncertain begins to become clear. Doubt fades away because there is no longer a question of value. This inner confidence removes the tolerance for inconsistency and replaces it with a desire for clarity and honesty. Relationships that lack direction no longer feel acceptable, and connections that bring confusion no longer feel appealing. This does not come from pride, but from understanding worth. When someone truly values themselves, they naturally expect the same level of value from others. This expectation is not forced, it is simply a reflection of internal belief. And because of this, only those who can meet that standard remain. The result is a life filled with more meaningful, intentional, and stable connections. Everything becomes simpler, not because life changes, but because perception and standards have evolved. Trusting the unseen process of life creates a sense of peace that cannot be shaken by delays or uncertainty. It allows the mind to rest, knowing that everything is unfolding in the right way and at the right time. This trust removes anxiety and replaces it with quiet confidence. There is no need to constantly analyze or predict outcomes, because there is a belief that what is meant to happen will happen. This belief creates emotional stability and mental clarity. It allows each moment to be experienced fully without fear of the future. And in this state, patience becomes natural rather than forced. There is a calm excitement, a sense that something meaningful is already on its way. And as this trust deepens, life begins to align more effortlessly, bringing experiences and connections that match this inner certainty.